In business, and honestly in most endeavors in life for that matter, creating real, lasting, and meaningful change is not an event, or it's not even a series of events. It's an ongoing process that starts by admitting there's a lot we don't know, then rolling up our sleeves, diving in, and demonstrating the courage and the tenacity to see it through the long haul. In this section, we'll explore how the long haul of mastering human-computer interactions serves the biggest and baddest high-tech companies on the planet, and we'll see how you can apply those same lessons to your own programs. The second advanced topic here, which is a ninja rockstar collection of advanced methods to wow your users and master your online results for whatever you're trying to accomplish. You'll notice I have an image of an onion here, and this is really about progressively, repeatedly, continually peeling the onion of the human-computer actions that you put in the world. So this second advanced approach that I want to share with you is what I call progressive HCI study, progressive study of human-computer interactions. This is a way of doing business and a standard of operational practice that never stops. For all the Fortune 500 companies that I've taught and consulted with over the last 20 years, the ones that find the greatest online success are the ones that committed to making the study of HCI a non-negotiable, permanent, non-discretionary, ongoing investment. That's really important. The more you can do that, the more successful that you are going to be. So let's talk about what this means. So what is progressive? In this context, the way I want to define this is progressive means continuous, persistent, builds on the previous discoveries and the previous work that you've done. That's the iterative and cumulative part. And it becomes a standard business practice. It's something that you build into your thinking and your organization and your processes that is always there, and you're always going to the next step, to the next level. Agile is an important part of this. It's how you get there. Agile is the methodology, the iterative approach that builds value incrementally from the start versus trying to deliver it all at once. The most successful online companies, most successful providers of anybody on the internet are doing interactive programs with a real audience. And the developers that put all that into play do this progressive HCI, human-computer interaction inquiry study. They do it iteratively, relentlessly. If you look at all the big companies in the world that are online that are successful, they have all committed to this. There are many models out there about how this works. Here's a model that shows you an example of what this agile process can look like. What I'm referring to here is much more than simply making the process repetitive. That's why I use the progressive label. All new studies and inquiry that you're going to do need to build on lessons from previous inquiry. The goal here, the method, is to constantly move forward on quality, effectiveness, and all those other HCI aspects that we've talked about. Usable, useful, functional, seamless, all the rest. Progressive also emphasizes that you don't know what you don't know. And getting to the most critical improvements and the biggest opportunities for improvements might involve slicing through some initial layers of fog. That's that fog of you don't know what you don't know. Often the obvious and the easy stuff is going to hide the subtle and the powerful. So you've got to get that obvious and easy stuff out of the way in order to get the more powerful, the ones with the higher leverage. When committing to this business practice, as I've learned with many clients over many years, applying the principles of Agile is the best way to implement this. Now, Agile is a rich and well-proven approach to project management in general and technical development, and you're probably at least aware of it, and you may be familiar with it. If not, go Google it. There's a lot of great stuff out there. You can learn a lot about it. For our purposes here in HCI, it means that we conduct inquiry and we test often and rapidly in small increments like the graph shows, and then deploy repeatedly. By doing that, this works best because we don't know what we don't know and because it's hidden and invisible. We're never totally sure where we're going, so progressing in smaller steps allows us to constantly shift, adapt, and respond to new insights. So this Agile approach also acknowledges that the process of HCI is never done. There's always more to learn about our audience and about how they use what we put out there for them. their needs and behaviors, what technology we have available to us, whatever our competitive pressures are, whatever economic conditions we're working under, and so much more are always changing. All that stuff is constantly in flux. In that climate of constant change, we're going to have to do constant discovery. Because if we don't decide to evaluate and deploy and act in small, fast increments, we risk never deploying at all. And we get locked into analysis paralysis and constantly creeping scope. This is where the most successful online rock stars do their best work and where they've always done their best work. We can learn a lot from their relentless focus because it works. And you need to figure out how to make it work for you. So, with this workshop and the full Mastermind Academy, you're going to discover where to look, how to look, what to look for, and then what to do about it, as I talked about in the DART process. Once you reveal where the first big opportunities and problems are with what you're putting out in the world, then you decide within that what's most important. You can drill in further on those to find the next order of insights and opportunities, and then continue to the next phase. That's this whole progressive process. This is a constant effort in making the invisible visible, then going to the next layer and the next level. And that's why the picture of the onion earlier. One inquiry and one set of insights leads to the next set of inquiries and the next set of insights, and so on. As this graph above shows here, another huge advantage to applying Agile principles is that it minimizes risk. If you try to create and deploy 30 major changes or additions to your online programs all at once, you're going to risk launching features or functions that don't work or aren't optimal, and it's very difficult to separate the effects of those from what is actually working. It all gets lost in the noise. But if you go with 4 or 5 or at most 10 at a time, you minimize the risk that some of those will set you back, and it's also much easier to identify which ones might be problematic. So keep that incremental, agile process in play as you go through this. So here's the keys to progressive agile and how you fold all of this in with the art of the DART that I covered in that section. Again, you don't know what you don't know. It's revealed gradually. And that's why you have to do these in small incremental steps and continually do them. Be willing to adapt and shift as you progressively know more. Plan, test, evaluate, act, pivot, replan, retest. Constantly builds on what you've already learned and what came before. Do it fast, do it iteratively, be adaptable, be scalable. This is the nature of business today. And this doesn't just apply to HCI. A lot of these principles are going to apply to a lot of other business practices as well. Use incremental methods so you can respond quickly to the unpredictable and the unknown, because you are going to discover things that you didn't expect, that you didn't know before. And you have to be set up in order to react to those appropriately. Find those rabbit trails. You're going to find doors that you're going to walk through and discover entire realms of opportunities or problems. So be willing to trust your instincts, trust your gut on a lot of this, and know which ones you're going to follow. Balance risk with rapid delivery. With this whole model, over time, if you go agile, you're going to increase the amount of value that you're going to be able to deliver in a shorter period of time, and you're going to minimize your risks as you go through that process. And those are really important. And again, you can go learn more about Agile and find out how these practices and principles really can work and apply them to whatever it is you're doing. Okay, so why is this important? This, in my experience, is the one true path to truly exceptional outcomes and breakaway online performance. It's a constant process of peeling that HCI onion to uncover and refine opportunities that lead to more opportunities that lead to more opportunities that ultimately are going to produce excellence for you. This process of continuous process improvement, of always asking, validating, refining, repeating. Again, it's not unique to HCI. It represents a culture and a mindset of excellence that works in a lot of different situations. It's really a competitive advantage and a competitive imperative, because trust me, your competition is doing this and they're going to continually get better at it as they go along, and you need to be willing to compete with that. Like I've shared with so many other aspects of this workshop, there's information that you're going to reveal that's not going to be available in any other way. I can almost guarantee you that you're going to find opportunities and make discoveries that you never knew existed or that you never thought were possible. And again, I can't tell you what those are. You got to go find them. And many of them are probably buried. You're going to have to peel that onion, however many layers, to ultimately get to them. Two aspects of this that will never stop changing and evolving are user needs, preference, behaviors, and the available technology that you're using to offer all of that to them. Those are always a moving target. Mastering HCI for the benefit of your users and your own business and operations and your own professional skill is not an event. It's a path and an ongoing process. And it's been proven over and over again. So, what do you need to know? How are you going to put this into play? As with a lot of things in life, the most important thing to know or to admit up front is that there's a lot you don't know. Once you admit that and are willing to solve that problem and deal with the uncertainty it includes, you're on your way. Because this entire HCI workshop and all of the Mastermind Academy, and really all that I do and all that I can teach you, is about that, I continue to emphasize it over and over again. Learning, discovering, responding creatively to what you find out, and it all has to start with this acknowledgement that there's things that you don't know that can help you and your users. Then we can commit to finding out. That's why the workshop that you're looking at here, that's why the Academy, that's why I provide all of this information for you. Get familiar with the tools of the trade, the principles and methods of Agile, and some of the other practices and processes I've described here. That's all this information and content is available to you. If you haven't tried it, if you're not familiar with it, you'll soon learn how it's become the preferred way to do software and technology development, and it's being done all over the world. So much of what you do in the world of HCI is software and technology. Now, it's a lot more than that, but at core, it includes those. And Agile processes have been proven to really make all of that sing. Finally, you're going to need to create a roadmap for yourself and your team based on the number and the complexity of however many systems you're putting out there in the world for your users, and of course, based on what you discover as you go along. Now, some people only have a simple single website or app or social media program, so knowing where to start and where to go next is easy, but that's not usually the case. Most of us have multiple complex websites, various tools and widgets we offer our users, and we play in different social media realms, and most of our users touch different offline aspects of our business or operations as well. So you'll need to decide the sequence as you go based on your operations and your audience. Sometimes going deep on that business critical website will be the priority. Or you may want to do quick analysis of several of these programs to determine where the biggest opportunity or problems lie. And again, you need to be creative and flexible in making all of that happen. This is the second of the two advanced principles, and this is where you're going to achieve the excellence. This is where you're going to really get to that next level and make all of this work. So your willingness and ability to constantly learn, to get better and to master your craft, which is really what this whole progressive process is about, that is going to be the determinant of your success in your operations, in your business, whatever your online endeavors happen to be. Your ability to meet your goals, your capacity to be useful and relevant in the world, no matter what you do, and whether HCI is part of your presence in the world or not, the principles described here are going to make HCI work a lot better and basically everything else that you do work a lot better. Then, within that ongoing process of learning and discovery, how well you can apply and deploy what you've learned for the benefit of your audience is where the rubber meets the road. That's where you're going to get traction towards your dreams and your goals and your preferred outcomes, or not. So this process that I've just shared of progressive inquiry into how your target audience interacts with you online will begin to feed back on itself, and it will begin to accelerate. I've seen it take on a life of its own with my own online programs and with the hundreds of clients I've consulted with and taught over the last couple decades. This is possible for you as well. This is where you want to go.